Hello and welcome to Feedback for the week of December 1st, final month of the year. It's pretty much over. Like, there's what, two more games to come out? Cataclysm and Tron. Yay!
Pretty much.
Sounds so final when you say it like that.
I know. Well, I mean, I like finality. It's clarity.
Closure.
And we're about to talk about finality in one quick second. But first, I want to introduce a panel. Matt Kyle, fresh from the Epic Mickey review. Nicole Zavalich. Did I do it?
Perfect.
I've
Nice
been
job.
practicing for the past week. And, of course, Kevin Kelly.
Calais, actually.
Calais.
Sorry.
Calais.
Hello,
My
Calais.
apologies.
A fabulous
Yes.
day.
On the topic of finality, we have now lost Leslie Nielsen and Irving Kershner, which is there's nothing funny about either one.
There's a lot funny about one.
There's a lot of
them.
funny about Leslie Nielsen in the second half of his illustrious career. Also, let's also point out Spider-Man: Turn Off the Dark, the Broadway musical, has opened to its first preview with only, I think, 5 stop downs
I think so.
in that preview.
A 3-hour running length on that one.
3 hour
Yeah.
running length, but also preview tickets were still could get up to $100 to watch a show that stopped down 5 times.
Hey, if they were selling actual front row tickets to a train wreck,
yeah.
wouldn't you go?
I
For
think so.
$100.
I have to tip my hat to the New York Times, where some guy clearly was given the responsibility of having to cover this preview, both after he saw it and before he saw it, and that he couldn't seem to find anyone over the age of 9 to actually talk to him about it.
Or
Made for
accompany
some of the
him.
best holiday reading. But let's go back to the. Let's call it real news. Yeah. Kevin Kelly, what do you got?
We got some news. Keeping in the vein of the movies with Leslie Nielsen and Irving Kershner, terrible news, bad, tragic news. Marky Mark is playing Nathan Drake in the Uncharted movie. I mean,
He's not the right height.
no.
Leslie Nielsen would have been a better choice.
Amen.
Leslie Nielsen would still
Amen.
be a better choice.
Amen.
Well, he was in Max Payne.
But that was terrible.
I
Max,
know.
Max
Oh, I
Payne
got-
did not teach him anything. I think that's all we can take from
Yeah,
this.
but not even Mr. Mark.
And you're casting De Niro and Pesci as his uncle and father
Yeah.
in an antique
Joe
shop in New
Pesci?
York. Yeah, are you
Joe
crazy?
Pesci? Oh, come on.
Neither have been cast yet, though. This is all what the director
That's
wants.
what
right?
David O.
David
Russell
Russell
wants.
Good God, if he doesn't get what he wants, what are we going to have?
Terrible. Something
Why-
even worse.
Joe
Why would
Pesci?
anyone think that Mark Wahlberg can pull this role off?
No, I did.
I'm sorry, I'm stuck on the Joe Pesci thing. Because that doesn't make any sense.
When you look at Nathan Drake, you don't think of Joe Pesci being his uncle?
Okay, Joe Pesci should have tapped out and gone fishing.
Yes.
All right.
Amen. Agreed.
And I remember that I had a good friend of mine who graduated from SF State. And what's his face from Lethal Weapon movies? Good guy.
Mel Gibson?
No, the other one.
Danny Glover?
Danny
Danny Glover. He was there
Oh,
giving
you
the
said good
commencement
guy.
address, and it was right around the time that Gone Fishing was coming out, and he could not help but plug Gone Fishing, that classic movie with him and Joe Pesci.
It looks so bad.
Yes,
But
and now he's in Uncharted.
There's no Lethal Weapon 2.
I mean, I love David O. Russell, who's directing this. Three Kings
Yeah.
was a great movie, but
Well, who's a better Nathan Drake then?
Nathan
Nathan
Fillion.
Fillion.
But I think that
The
he's
guy who
not
it's based
serious
on.
enough.
Nathan Fillion or Drake?
Fillion.
Nathan
But
is not
Drake
serious.
isn't that serious.
Drake isn't
Nathan Drake
serious.
is not a serious guy. He jokes all the time.
I don't know. I know there was a campaign and there's a hashtag for him on Twitter and stuff, and there were a lot of people rallying to have him play Nathan Drake, but
Well, he's not. Look, fact is, I love Nathan Fillion. I don't know if he's the box office draw, and I don't know how strong the Uncharted property is.
True.
So I can see the thought process on not wanting to have Nathan Fillion. Okay, let's take him out. Is there anyone? I mean, I guess all I want is a young Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're kind of out of those.
I mean, but see, I guess
unknown.
I guess the other issue with Uncharted as a movie is Uncharted the game is based on elements of pre-existing
So
pop
many other
culture
films, yeah.
that it just it feels like the snake. Eating
Yeah, I
its
mean, he's
tail.
basically like, I guess Brendan Fraser,
Yeah.
circa 99 or so, could have
Yeah.
done it, but like,
Not now.
not now.
no.
Yeah, who's our young, like maybe Chris Pine? I'm trying to think of
Ryan
someone.
Reynolds?
Hell, you know
Ryan
what?
Reynolds,
No.
maybe.
How about
He's
James
flipping
Franco?
out.
Let's put him in everything.
please.
James Franco can be in everything, yeah.
I
James,
like him in
James
everything.
Franco.
James
Because-
Franco got robbed on Spider-Man 3. He could have carried that movie as the villain, and they screwed him.
I actually watched. I
Big
can't remember the name of it. I watched that soap opera. He had that weird little postmodern thing he was doing on. I mean, this guy.
Days of Our Lives, wasn't it? Or
And he's a
what?
ruin. So
I
you know.
can't remember.
So all right.
Highly underrated man.
If we have any viewers out there that have an idea of an actor that we have not considered, we would like one that is alive.
Let us know.
Yeah.
Yes. Please let us know. Okay. What's
Well,
next
we can
here?
stack those up for us. And speaking of stacking,
Oh, wow.
He's good.
We're taking someone to Segway school.
I hope I get to ride one. The Double Fine's next game, they had announced that they were doing 2 games when Costume Quest was announced. The next one's finally revealed. It's called Stacking. and it's a cool 1930s set open world. You play a Russian nesting doll named Charlie.
That's
I swear
the best
this is real.
plot I've ever heard in my entire life.
Russian nesting doll named Charlie. Pretty much. Okay, you got me. I'm there.
Sold.
So how long do you think Tim Schafer wanted to call it Matryoshka before marketing stepped in and was like, no?
What do you think his original name? It probably was Babushka. Was the original name
Yeah,
for the
something
character
like
of the
that.
doll?
And
Yeah.
they just changed stacking is kind of bland title.
Or
for this.
Zhivago or something. You know,
You know, it is interesting though. Yeah, that they went with stacking. This sounds really clever. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I think the guys. I think Double Fine and Schaefer are really getting to spread their wings in this kind of this new space that they're trying to.
It sounds like
work in.
the mechanic is you can jump into other nesting dolls to gain their abilities because you'll need them to figure
Don't
out.
think about it
puzzles.
too much. It's creepy.
It is slightly creepy. And
Hold
can
on.
they jump into you because you should be a nesting
I
doll.
haven't seen any art yet, but
There-
do
there's
the
been a
dolls have
trailer.
feet?
No,
No.
they wobble as they
They
walk.
do. They do wobble.
Yeah. But they don't fall down.
Much like why is there no Weebles video game?
Anybody
Where's
get
the
that one?
Weebles video
Kinda
game? Weebles video game. We need it today.
I demand it.
No.
I mean, hopefully, I mean, it's a 1930s open world setting. You know, it's a 1930s where?
It wasn't clear in
Russia?
the trailer. They
Please
were
say
missing.
Russia.
hope.
Please say Russia.
Judging by the screenshots, it looked bleak enough to be Russia.
Yeah, I got a Russian feel from
It was
it.
like a train station that
late
looked like it was
Lenin,
not going anywhere.
Some early Stalin, you know, maybe a little bit of the futurist art. There were some interesting things happening there in Russia at the time. Oh, yes, and communism. So, yeah.
I can't imagine what comment you'd make on communism with a bunch of stacking dolls.
I don't know. All right. Okay, this third news piece is actually really interesting because I would have never thunk it. But then it's so obvious when you think about it.
Yeah, once you think about the timing, Nintendo is returning to CES after being gone for 16 years.
Okay, and let's point out that 16 years ago, when Nintendo would have been at CES, there was no E3, and fundamentally, what E3 was this section of CES.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there was no real gaming press like there is now. There were a few magazines back then, but
there was like two dudes and a crayon.
yeah, exactly. That was the name of their magazine. They're
but
coming
not
back,
in the
but
same room.
Andy with a reel-to-reel. That's what it was.
phonograph. If you think about it, yeah, the 3DS is coming out in Japan on February 26th, I think. Yeah, and but we don't have an announced release date yet.
I think everyone's kind of thinking
There
March.
there
Feels
was
like
that
it's March.
that Canadian GameStop thing that leaked where they were taking like the pre-order thing went up quick, about $299 Canadian dollars, which like works out to about $20 more than they were charging for the DS when it came out up there, which would put
Be a
it
nice
somewhere
price
in the
point.
270, 250
Was
range
there a
here.
date?
Yeah.
No date.
No date.
March. It's got to be March.
I feel it's going to be. I mean, I think the only delay between Japan and here is, you know, it's supply.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how
I
many
mean,
they can make.
I am still very, very much committed. These things have been in production since around the time of E3 because
There
I
were a lot of them at E3.
Right, exactly. You walk into a big room, and I'm supposed to be looking at 600 ostensible prototypes of this machine. That doesn't make sense. I think it was like among the first run of the product.
Or I mean, you do think about this tech they're using and how very fine tuned it would have to be. Maybe you do produce that many to make sure that when you make that many, you don't have like 30% defect rate or something.
And to be fair, Nintendo is one of the few companies that
would
would
do
spend
that.
the money and
Yes.
could spend the money to do something like
They
that.
definitely can burn through the cash. Putting things in perspective, I thought this was kind of funny. 1994, the last time they were at CES, Nintendo called 1994 the year of the cartridge. Donkey Kong Country was one of their big titles.
As opposed to the 8 years preceding it.
I know. I don't quite
Also,
understand that
As far
either.
as year ofs go, that is a terrible year of.
Very boring. Could
Even
you
David
imagine?
Foster Wallace wouldn't have come up with that in Infinite Jest.
And it's like your sign, like, you know, the year of the pig, you're the year of the dragon. I'm the year
I'm
of the
the year of the
cartridge.
cartridge.
Shoot me
What
now.
is your power? Costing more than necessary.
I load instantly, but I don't remember much. It's like I don't.
And to clarify, they're not going to have a huge booth at CES.
No,
They're going to
no.
be taking meetings, which sounds so boring in retrospect.
Well,
We'll
think
talk
that
to you guys
they
about-
will announce the release date for America?
They might.
At that
No,
point,
I mean,
you better.
you're
to.
right. It's just like Nintendo. You're probably going to have the single most significant consumer electronics launch of 2011.
And you're not going to show it
Act
off.
like you're excited about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Throw a parade. Have some confetti.
Well, I mean, you gotta think that like at the same time you're dealing with a hardware product that can't be shown except in person. Like you have to stand in front of that thing
Right.
and experience
Well,
it. You
which is-
can't show a video of it and expect people to get why it's amazing.
And to that point, there would probably be a very long line. But right now, it's almost like word of mouth is going to have to kind of convince
Yeah.
people that this is for
Well,
real.
you got to get that
because,
thing in the kiosks
yeah,
and stores.
you have all these people trapped inside of one building. You might as well say, like, have a look.
Are they going to send those women from E3 to every like GameStop and so
Yeah.
they're chained to the?
Do you think the 3DSs are still attached to them at this
yes,
moment?
it's lifetime. You get a girl if you pre-order if you get it in time. That was the
You have to
weirdest
feed her and-
walkout thing that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But cool.
Oh, no, they did that with the PSP.
They had
In
girls
Vegas,
chained to the PSP.
The PSP was chained to them.
Nice.
It was weird.
I like that it's girls too. They don't use like beefy dudes who are gonna like pop you if you try to steal.
I remember I was screwing with Sony the whole time because what was UMD was the media
Yeah.
device, and I kept on in an interview I would only refer to as an IUD. I tried to see how many times they're going to correct me before they finally get banned it all.
Just let it.
Okay, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. Ubisoft likes us.
They like us because they're giving us some free DLC, free DLC coming multiplayer DLC too on December 14th. It's called. It does have the most boring DLC name ever. Animus Project Update 1.0.
That's a multiplayer update. Sounds like.
Wow.
It's all multiplayer. It's got a new mode and new map.
Yeah, it looks like the map is Mont Saint Michel.
Yeah.
Mont Saint Michel, just so everyone knows, this is an island. I believe it's in the Normandy area. You can only actually you can only drive out to this island at certain times because when high tide comes in, it covers
nice.
the road. It's a beautiful old island.
It's lovely.
What,
Yes.
Did that mechanic exist back then? Could you only ride to horse out there at certain times of the day?
Horse car, it's high tide, my friend.
I want to find out. I love that this is free, though. I'm excited. They said it was kind of a thank you to their fans, and it's nice that we're getting some free
Yeah,
some free
They're,
junk.
they're doing that with Force Unleashed too. I noticed too. Like the Endor level is gonna be $1, which
$1.
is better than like the $10 they shafted you for in the first game.
What about the $60 you spent on the game to begin with?
Well, I didn't do that.
Okay, Noble Map Pack. It came out yesterday.
It came out yesterday.
You
800
played
points.
it. What do you think?
It's great. These maps are beautiful, and you can see the amount of detail they crammed into these things. Anchor 9 is a low-gravity orbital repair station. Gorgeous. You can go outside and fly around in space. There you can see dogfight battles happening in the distance. Breakpoint is this gigantic map that's taking place in this snowy, huge expanse. And then Tempest is a brightly lit, symmetrical map. Two ends, kind of like Valhalla, but much, much prettier. Great for capture the flag and stuff. They are great maps. The
Worth
team,
800 points?
it's worth 800 points. The team said they started working on these immediately after they were finished
This
with
is
the
800
initial
points
game.
for 3 maps. What was like the big scandal about the Modern Warfare 2 map pack and how much it was?
800 points for 3 maps.
Yeah.
I think.
And
Was it 800
it
points?
was
I thought it was
also maps
1200.
from Modern
Yeah,
Warfare.
I thought it was
I
more
thought it was
than-
1,500 actually.
You might be right about 15. I know it was expensive.
It might have been 1,400.
Yeah.
Probably-
Now I don't remember.
1,200 maybe?
1,200 is what
Because
things
they-
usually are.
People
Well,
aren't
you
happy
have-
with $15 or whatever.
That would be 1,200.
I have no idea what this exchange rate is of Microsoft points.
Yeah, magic points versus real money. I don't know, but
That's
I
like
think it was
$10.
1,200 is 15 usually.
Yeah. And,
Yeah,
you know,
800 is like
and with this Irish bailout thing, who knows what Microsoft points are going for now?
That's going to tank the economy,
And
including our
then there's
MS points.
Portugal.
Yeah, it's bleak looking at world finance right now.
Kevin, outside of world, let's get specific to one state. One state that you seem to always be traveling to. You have family there, don't you?
Texas.
The state of Texas.
Yes.
Is it Austin, the Dallas area? Where? Amarillo? Are you up in the Panhandle? Are you a
No,
Panhandle
thank
kind of
God.
kid?
If I was up there, I would not have been excited about going. Austin's where I went to college. Family's all in the Dallas area, though.
Got it.
Unfortunately, because I don't love the Dallas area, but I do love board games.
So you went to Board Game Geek Con?
Yes, Board Game Geek Con. There's a website, boardgamegeek.com, is a great source of info for any board game you can possibly imagine. I've been on there
I
for
was
a few
just
years.
on there yesterday.
See, it's a great addictive
my
site.
homepage.
Now, does it tend to focus on well-known board games or kind of the more off the beaten path board games?
They focus on, I mean, your average board gamer in the United States would go to this thing and be like, I've never heard of any of these. Where's Cranium? Where's Categories? Where's Taboo? These are like German-style strategy games.
Oh, those kind of board games. Because I was
Nerd
at
games.
Gen Con
Very
years ago,
nerdy.
and I bought a game that it's about water irrigation.
Nice.
Yeah, and you're trying to.
You
kind
bought
of
it because of the picture.
Well, yeah. There's also a man with looking at a donkey in a way that I've never seen on the cover of a board game
Wow.
or anywhere else in life.
Was this
actually?
Santiago?
Oh my! No! My God!
Yes,
You've heard
it
of
is.
it?
Yes.
I heard of it. I not only heard of it because of that, but the guy who runs Z-Man Games, who imported that, was like, "Hey, tell that Adam Sessler that he needs to knocking on my games. I like X-Play and
Well, see, the
D4."
thing that I love about this game the most is I was making a joke when I was interviewing him. So I said, well, I gotta say, I think I've met the guy who made the one and only water irrigation game, and he goes, no, There's another one.
Oh my God.
That's a very competitive market space.
And to be fair, he just published it. He didn't create
Well,
it.
good for him. Good for him. Look, the world is only better for that. So.
for two irrigation games. Those games are one of the highlights is Essen is the huge German board game show. That it's just crazy. There are more board games sold in Germany per capita than any other country in the world. I don't know exactly why, but they highlight the cool Essen games at Board Game Geek Con. They've just brought them over. They buy several copies and you can play them. So we played Seven Wonders, which is this cool game where you're protecting the seven wonders of the world. K2, where you're
From
climbing
what?
K2 from people who want the seven wonders
Bad
of the world.
guys.
Yeah,
You know how
don't
many
need
people
much
try
more
to steal the
motivation.
pyramids every day?
a lot.
Yeah,
Like
well, hey,
4.
where's the Colossus?
Exactly.
Exactly.
gone. It was stolen.
where was he in the first place?
Roads?
Roads, yeah,
thank you,
straddling,
Roads,
straddling
Roads.
an entrance.
Yeah.
But we played some cool
That's what
games.
Herodotus
And,
says, but Herodotus says a lot.
my highlights
If
were
he could shut up.
me or
No,
Herodotus.
Herodotus.
The,
You can talk all you want, Kevin.
The what were my highlights? Battlestar Galactica, the board game, is actually incredibly enjoyable. And then Dungeon Lords, which is you have your own dungeon. You're trying to outfit it with traps and monsters and make it cool. There's a game coming out next year. It might just be called Dungeons. There's been other games like this, like Dungeon Keeper. I think was Molyneux's game that was
Yes.
sort of
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
thing. So it was fun. But I had a blast. We were up till 4 a.m. every night playing games. And
I'm a big Arkham Horror fan.
I brought back some very cool games. We're gonna have to have a game night.
I ordered Dominion on
Great game.
Amazon for like ridiculously cheap price yesterday. I have to
It's
get
a
Casey
great
Schreiner
game.
to teach me how to play.
It's fun. You
I
won't
love
be
those
sorry.
Arkham games. I'm with you. Okay, game night. We'll plan it when the
Yeah,
camera's
Let's do
off.
it.
Okay, remember, video game deathmatch is still going on. All right, it's the finals though. It's like at the end when two big things are matched up against one another. Kevin, explain where we stand now here in video game deathmatch.
Coming down to the very end. We only have 4 games left, and there's 2 on 2. It ends.
It's pretty interesting matchups.
It is weird matchups. It ends tonight at 9:00, so you can vote all day long and try to change the outcomes. Mass Effect 2 currently is beating Red Dead Redemption, which
My,
I was
Rightfully
surprised
so.
by. Rightfully so.
I'll say it.
I'd agree with that.
yeah, I think so. I mean, it's not like lopsided.
No.
It's like
No, I love them both.
It's pretty
but
close.
Mass Effect 2.
That's a personal preference, debate right there. Here's the other one. Apples and oranges in my world.
Completely.
StarCraft 2 versus Assassin's Creed Brotherhood.
Ooh,
Um,
that's rough.
yeah. It's,
I would.
Who's winning?
Well, right now it's fairly evenly matched. I think StarCraft 2 handily won last time, and so did Assassins, which was up against Halo or something. It was up against
yeah,
something.
Assassins was kind of a giant killer in a couple of
Yeah,
instances.
I was
so-
surprised it did. I think the multiplayer is boosting
Didn't
that
it beat
game
Rock
huge.
Band as well?
Yeah, well, I'd love to see what Rock Band was paired up against. You can look on our site and you can see
Actually,
the
Rock Band, I
historical
think,
battles.
was at one point paired up with Fable 3 or...
Fable 3 destroyed
Yeah.
Rock Band. That's right.
Yeah.
Attack of the Threes. So yeah, you can vote all day. The only 2 will be standing after this, and then we'll go into the final, only 1 game left standing match
Yes.
next week.
Right. One man
And-
goes in. 2 games come in, and then there's a midget on
And
a
one
guy's
man
back.
comes in.
BioWare
fighting.
versus Blizzard potentially there.
I like that.
Yeah.
Look at this. Sci-fi v sci-fi. All right, let's get to our game of the week. Epic Mickey. Matt, you reviewed this.
I did.
Before we get to all that stuff, I think you addressed this in your review. I know we played it. I think that there is a ridiculous amount of mischaracterization of what this game is.
Mm-hmm.
And having said that, in my experience playing it, I've never played a game like this, and I don't know what name. Well, it's a mouthful to describe it.
It's very hard to get across.
Mouthful.
And actually, at one point, I actually did ask Warren Spector, like, what's your shorthand for, like, explaining to someone what this game is when they think it's just, like, a standard third-person platformer? And he's like, we don't really have one. It's like, it's very hard to, it's like Banjo-Kazooie meets Deus Ex.
And I still feel there's even
And
more
it doesn't
to it.
make any sense.
No.
But like, that's the simplest you can boil it down to, I think, is like, it's like taking like the level design and the gameplay to some degree of Deus Ex and sort of like or of Banjo-Kazooie and sort of inserting these Deus Ex tropes of decision making, but instead of Deus Ex is like you're making decisions through dialogue and how you approach things. Epic Mickey is about like changing the environment to suit how you want to do things, and sometimes there's always like an easy option, but it's like if you want to do it the way you want to do it, that's the challenge, is to do it the way you want to do it and not take the easy way out.
I mean, I think the other thing is that in playing this game, I mean, I love those N64 platformers that you can see. When you first look at it, that you're like, yeah, I've been there. I know what that is. But no, you can't use the logic of how you played those games. I mean, I'm a collectathon guy with games like that. That's not how this works. You can't do everything. That's what the decisions are. They preclude you.
There was one
from doing
section
other
where
things.
I was still trying to do everything, and I got to this point where you unlock this one part where it's like, oh, here's a shortcut to the next area. I'm like, well, I don't want a shortcut. I want to go do the other thing too. So I did the other thing, and I'm like, well, let me go see what that shortcut does first. I go through the shortcut, and it just like kind of funnels me through this thing that bypasses the whole next area and drops me into the boss battle. And then the boss battle was like, the boss liked me for what I did earlier, and so he's like, I don't want to fight you because you seem like a cool guy. So just go on.
And
I was like,
he gives you a reward.
yeah, he gives
too.
you good stuff for
Now,
it.
that boss didn't like me. But I did take the shortcut. But I felt like I did the crazy thing where I did look at the shortcut as an advantage, and I actually undermined myself by leaving where the shortcut took me and going to the beginning of the level that it brought me to. And then when I got to since this guy didn't like me, I had this relatively tough boss battle, and I didn't know. I had to call Matt to find out if I had jumped 5 levels. And
I was like, I don't know. I didn't play that. I skipped it.
Fascinating that that you would approach a game like this with that level of kind of ambition and sophistication in terms of your game design.
Mm-hmm. And there's consequences in this one.
Yeah, and it's emotional as well, which I was like right at the beginning. Well, first, like Mickey Mouse is kind of a
Yeah.
like he is the whole reason this thing is going on.
You're not supposed to say that. He's mischievous.
Oh, right.
Mischievous.
But man, he's presented
he's
with
a total.
tons of
You can
times
make him a
to
total.
redeem himself, and he never comes out and like is like, okay, let's do it. He's all like, well.
Well, the thing is, and it's not always mischievous. I also felt that there's always been a sense of curiosity, and not necessarily positive curiosity that's been behind. That is what the Sorcerer's Apprentice is all about.
There's curiosity mixed with a strange level of ineptituede.
Or hubris that seems to cause all the trouble, and that's this fascinating way that you can play the game. Nicole, I was going to ask you because I know about these guys. This guy knows his Disney. Kevin, I know that you like stuff like that. Where do you fall when it comes to just larger Disney, Mickey Mouse, all that kind of stuff?
I was definitely raised on Disney, so
okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely have a strong history with Disney, and then.
Okay, when you say Disney, what do you mean by Disney? Just because we established last episode that I'm like. I hearken from the Depression era.
The Disney princess movies primarily, and I definitely have seen a lot of the Mickey Mouse. Some of the older cartoons that are forgotten in Epic Mickey, I've seen.
Okay,
and
cool.
Just because they were on the VHSs I had, so but yeah.
Okay, no, I was just curious.
But I also love Disneyland, so I mean, I have a season pass.
Okay, so
that's
I
the
think
key.
all of
Another
us here,
connection
all
to
of
the
us here
game.
really
Disneyland is the key.
do. Yeah, and I thought that they downplayed it when they were first rolling out the game, but it's
I had no
central.
idea it was going to be so Disneyland
Yeah,
based.
it is a giant love letter to Disneyland. And if you, if you know Disneyland, like there is so much stuff in that game to find that you wouldn't see otherwise.
But I think what's so funny is that at first I was like, they're going to incorporate that much Disneyland. Well, duh. I mean, Disneyland is a geographic place that tracks the logic of Disney.
Right. Well, the other thing,
And it's pre-designed. It's got pre-designed levels for
Well, also, I
you.
was so disappointed in myself when I finally. It wasn't until like that most recent preview event where they kind of laid out this is Disneyland, but a dark reflection of Disneyland. So we're going to take you around Disneyland and do that tour thing we ran on the show, and it was just like this thing of like, and I just sat there, I'm like, Wasteland, Disneyland. What's wrong with me? Like, why didn't I get that? I felt
Land.
Several times
Land.
we've done preview things with that game, and I remember just trying to connect. Like, I'm trying to get around why they want it called Wasteland and not The Wasteland.
I
and
always went
this
April
and
is the cruelest month.
yeah. And there's some T.S. Eliot references in the review if you read it.
I know.
I loved like you go into the ice cream parlor and there's that giant elephant that's actually in the ice cream parlor at Disneyland. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the People Movers are in Tomorrow
Yes.
City,
I
which
mean,
no
gorgeous.
one remember. There should have been some rocket rods in there though. That was
It is almost
Now defunct.
terrifyingly attentive to the point of obsessive.
Yeah.
In terms of not just like those elements that are just trivia elements, but just how this game plays out. And just I really don't know in some instances how many resolutions there are to a certain sequence.
well. Sometimes I'd run into things where I'm like things that where someone's like, oh, it's too bad you did that with this thing because I was going to do this for you. I'm like, I didn't know I could do that.
And I like that the game doesn't tell you,
Yeah.
you know.
There
don't-
were
not
some
yet.
parts where I had the option of there's a part in Oztown where you can shoot down a safe on top of the sky, and it told me, no, you sure you want to do that? Oh, do you really want to do that? If you do that, it's going to drop the safe. And I did it anyway, and I got the bad outcome, and I freaked out and turned off my Wii. But, like, it didn't want me to do that.
No. Nicole, I think you hit on something. I think this is like another thing I'm trying to wean myself off of. I'm telling myself it's not a bad outcome. It's just another outcome. Because I think the thing is that you just can't. Okay, we've seen so many games that are like, okay, you can play good, you can play evil. And we all know how to manipulate the system so we can go absolutely 100% in one of the two directions. It is near impossible to do this in the game because it isn't a good-evil split. It's some kind of split.
Well, it's
and
more paint. Like the paint side is helpful and the thinner side is selfish. Like that's how it breaks down. Is like you're the helpful kind of modern corporate logo Mickey if you're using paint, and you're the old school black and white Mickey if you're using thinner. Basically, I mean,
Mouse.
really, like because if you use thinner, you're basically just doing it for yourself, and if you use paint, you're usually helping somebody. There's usually a way to, and you know,
But the game is good about telling you, like, it's not bad to use thinner, and you
Right.
start doing that more and more, and you will reveal things that I had no idea were there. And I'm like, I would have never thought to just kind of spray thinner here.
It's
see what's
interesting.
underneath.
Back to the point that I've been making. I want to see someone with minimal experience with games or someone who's quite young play this because I think that they will adapt to it quicker than the way that I felt because I kept on trying to impose the logic of other games I played on this.
I want to see someone who has never played a BioWare game play this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Or
Fable.
Or Fable.
We're
or Fallout.
so ingrained in us that like to be the hero and to not because I mean I know you play evil first.
I always play, but
Usually.
except in this one, I was trying to only use paint all the time because
I
That's
did
what I
paint
did.
first, and I was glad when I got to the ending that I used paint first because I haven't gotten to the ending with thinner yet. But I have a feeling the ending with thinner is going to be devastating because of the way it worked out in the end with paint. It's just like oh, that's really cool. It's like, what if I hadn't done that? Oh, that would have been horrible. It's just some nasty stuff.
And I think the other
might go
thing
down.
is, and once again, I think this is very true for people who do like their Mickey Mouse, who understand like the significance of what Walt Disney did with this animation. To suddenly see Mickey represented in a vital way for the first time since, I think, I mean, I've seen all the old cartoons, but I don't think since I've been born, I have seen Mickey Mouse used in a way that is as resonant and is
Well, I said at
immediate
the-
as what's happening in this game.
I said at the end of the written review, Walt would have loved it.
Yeah.
And I absolutely believe that because it is taking what is already existing and what Walt used to say, plussing it.
Yeah.
Like you're taking what you've got and you're doing something more and different with it. Warren Spector and the Junction Point team have taken all these properties of Disney that haven't been used in any constructive way for so many years, and most people don't even remember them, and they've just made them vital again. You've just made 80-year-old cartoons interesting to children of today.
Yeah.
Through that. And
Which is
they don't get a DVD collection out of that stuff out now. Like, they're
Yeah.
crazy.
They will. They're Disney.
The game kind of treads down the Toy Story path by showing you these characters that are forgotten and sad. And there were times when I was like, this is kind of depressing. You know, he's talking to characters. They're like, Mickey, don't you remember me? I was in this
Shows them
and that.
pictures.
And he doesn't remember them.
Yeah,
and
I'm
then
like,
the whole...
Mickey, how can you forget Clarabelle Cow?
Or Horace
Oh,
Horsecollar.
that was so sad.
Yes.
Well, what about the one thing I was impressed that Disney let them do and that Warren's team did was they have this. There's a location in the game, Mickey Junk Mountain. Without giving much away, it's filled with heaps of forgotten junk that was created. Mickey had so much stuff created, especially in like the 30s, 40s, 50s era. Tons of shoe shine, insecticide. You know. And they include all
Mouse
that, and
Raid.
it's all the torn packages, and there's even Super Nintendo and Nintendo cartridges
I
of past
noticed those.
games, and it's really that attention to detail blew me away.
No, it is. I don't want to go after other outlets and like their appreciation of it, but I feel that this game has not been properly served in terms of just kind of those elements that are just kind of just awe-inspiring about the game. That this is, I mean, the idea that something is a love letter to something else is applied pretty freewheeling. This is the one time that there is just no question.
It works.
This is just and this is clearly also very personal, at least for not just Warren Spector himself, but the other people on the team. Clearly, I would like to think that most people there like Mickey Mouse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I am not actually a huge Mickey Mouse fan specifically. I am a Donald Duck fan through and through.
His problems tend to be more
Yes.
entertaining, yes.
And I love the goofy how-to blank shorts. I mean, I've seen every short except for the Oswald ones. Every short represented in Epic Mickey I've seen. just because when the Disney Channel started when I was a kid,
That's all they had.
That's all they had to run.
Just
So
before
I've
Britney
seen
Spears
all
and
those
Justin
things.
Timberlake, we actually had
I
quality
can
cartoons.
I can still quote you stuff from that mountain climber thing where Goofy, Donald, and Mickey get in trouble with the goat and stuff. But like, so I don't have a huge love for Mickey, but like,
That's where that goofy yell comes from. You know the
yeah,
yeah,
Like
that's from the Mountain Climbers.
And I just, something about it just, I've been to
Alpine
Disneyland a lot. I love all that stuff. And it just clicked with me. And I have to say, one thing that it does emulate from the N64 platformers that isn't so good is the camera.
Yeah.
The camera gets really squirrely in tight locations and indoors. And if you have to have a fight with something indoors, good luck.
Yeah, that's the one thing.
But it's one of those things where, again, like I said, the way you want to do it is where the challenge came from. Because there was one part near the end where I was trying to keep painting the enemies to make them my friends instead of thinning them into oblivion. And I realized that if I just would thin the suckers, this would be over in 2 minutes. But I didn't want to do it that way. And so I just kept making it harder and harder on myself. It's probably, I went around and around on that in my head. And in the end, the camera didn't bother me enough to ding the game that hard for it. I know Nicole doesn't really agree with that.
Well, I guess the one thing I felt is that you don't, most of what you're doing, I find, doesn't have so much urgency that camera is getting in the way at that worst possible moment. That you can kind of like, okay, hold on, take a step back, deal with the
It's mostly
situation.
inconvenient when you're trying to paint something directly in front of you or underneath you.
Yeah.
And like a path that you're trying to complete. That
'Cause
was
the physics
yeah,
can get-
that was tough.
It did bring up
Nicole?
a question, though. Like, what if, and this is total speculation, because I was like, Mario Galaxy doesn't have this kind of a camera problem. And I'm like, is that why it all takes place on spheres?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because
the
you
thing
don't
is,
ever
the
have to worry
only-
about that.
The only other game I can think of, and
Makes
I
sense.
might be wrong, that has that kind of level design as you find in Epic Mickey was Mushroom Men. That is actually trying to do the familiar N64 era platformer. I mean, that I think that there are certain things about the Wii. Nicole, I want to hear your thoughts about the camera, but I want to come back to that because I think the thing that I think is the biggest crime is this should have been multi-platform. That for numerous reasons. But Nicole,
I had a big problem with the camera. I think it was debilitating in a lot of times, especially like in Tomorrowland or Tomorrow City rather, that there were just a lot of holes and gaps in the level design. So not in level design in that there were flaws, but there's actual holes in the ground that you could fall through. And if the camera doesn't turn, you can't see that, and I would just needlessly die. And there are no lives, so like there's no really consequence for dying over and over, but it was frustrating. And, boss battles, I mean, I know it's not a combat-driven game, but if you're trying to even kill or befriend a boss, you have to, like, end up going in circles and circles trying to get the camera to work, and sometimes the D-pad to control the camera yourself doesn't respond at all. And it was just very
You
frustrating
can't
for me.
friend all the bosses.
No,
Yes.
You can.
All of
Yeah.
them.
Including
Paint.
that first boss?
Including.
yes. Oh yeah,
Man.
There are some
clock tower?
enemies you
Yeah.
can't friend,
That boss
like the
scared the crap
mechanical
out of me.
ones.
For one thing.
You can't befriend the animatronics. You have to destroy the animatronics.
Okay. All
But
right.
all the major bosses, you can.
Okay.
There's
That
a
makes more
paint
sense.
and a thinner way to do it.
Nice.
Even though the Mad Doctor boss battle, I could not figure out the paint approach, and I just ended up thinning the sucker.
He deserved it.
I mean, that's the thing is that
He was a
that
jerk.
reminds me of the best moments of Deus Ex, where like my own kind of relationship with the game started to be the
Yeah.
way that I was playing,
Where you
and
don't,
not some
like-
preordained decision.
Yeah,
making.
you didn't fail the challenge in the game, but you did fail yourself.
Yeah.
Like that's how
Which
that
is
works out.
worse.
Yeah.
So, back to the thing. This should have been a multi-platform
Yeah.
game, not just because this is some of the most interesting art direction I've seen in a game this year, and I want to see it with high-def graphics. That camera problem would have been resolved immediately.
Yeah, if you didn't have to jump
On
from
a
the
system.
jump button to the D-pad
If
on
you're
the Wiimote.
using a normal adult controller,
How would the
Yes.
paint physics work on a regular controller?
I was actually thinking about this. Ha 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 ha. I think what it is that you use a trigger to depress it, and then by that point, then you're using one of the sticks to just control
Yeah,
it.
basically
I mean,
Call of
it
Duty
could
style.
have been-
Left trigger thin,
but
right
I
trigger
think then it would have
paint.
gone into a strafing lock-on type situation. I've gone over my head. There probably is a flaw in that idea, but I think it to get that free moving camera. But the other reason, which I think would have been really really nice, is that I think so much of the neat content that's in this game, like all the trivia, all that wonderful stuff that could really invigorate like some young people's interest in Disney, understand what the real history of it is, would have been there in a supplemental DVD or something else that could have been in the game. But obviously the storage on that damn disc for
Maybe
the Wii
some voice acting.
is maybe some voice
Yeah,
acting.
Matt and I noticed that these scenes appear to be like they were the cutscenes seem like they were meant to be fully voiced because
I think, yeah.
Mickey's mouth, the
Yeah.
characters will move their mouth, but you won't hear anything.
Yeah, and now I really hope this game sells well because maybe Disney will reconsider. Just keeping it on the Wii. I mean, there really is something magical about this
Well, I
game.
would hope that. I mean, I have no idea how this thing's going to sell. I have no idea. The advertising's out there. There's billboards and buses and everything
And
around
Mickey
here.
Mouse is about as reliable a marketing tool that you could ever use.
And it's about the only good Wii title coming out for the holidays.
I mean, yeah, we have. I mean, let's just say it. I've only played a little bit of both, but Kirby and Donkey Kong, while good, are a little bit more modest in terms of their ambitions and what
This
I
one's
would
a
definitely
Wii
say
game.
that, like, if Epic Mickey is again one of those games that I would just put in the hands of anyone willing to hold a controller.
Yeah, it's just there's just
Whereas
so
like
much,
Donkey Kong Country Returns, I'd put in the hands of anyone who loved Donkey Kong Country, but it's not quite the same thing.
Maybe not people who are afraid of mice. Yeah, screw
It's
that.
pretty anthropomorphic.
Or rabbit.
Crazy people. All right, well, Matt, thank you so much. Obviously, the review is up on the site, Epic Mickey, a 5 out of 5. All right, I want to get to our question of the week, and it comes from XPlay Fan 1500. Like, we have 1,500 fans. No, we actually have.
Well, you're born on January 1st, 2000? Is that what that was?
Where do you see that?
1500.
Oh, yeah.
That makes more sense than
Let's
us
go hack
having
his
1,500
account.
fans.
Yeah, you're right. Then he's a little over 10.
He grew up with you, man.
That
No,
makes
he's
sense.
growing up with me. That's what's he's growing up with me.
He has an
All right.
intelligent question for a 10.
I was about to say, this 10-year-old is quite something. Can the OnLive service really compete in the current market? Could it deliver the same experience as the 360 or PS3, or do you think it will fail?
You guys, he's
We're missing
9.
some
Cut him
words.
some slack.
Come on.
Like a fad that may be ahead of its time. However, with the video game market dominated by 3 main consoles, all with huge support from software developers, will anyone even notice this thing exists? First, the online service, quick. Cloud computing, you go into the service and you can pretty much use any computer, laptop, or otherwise from any place, and you can play games,
Right.
assuming that it's available on
and
their
they sell a
service.
micro console you can attach to your television to make your
Right.
TV into that console.
Why I like it, and this is for people. When I travel, and I travel more than I like, I miss my games. And this is a way, at least, to play some games, in a setting where I really would like to be doing something because I'm in an alien land, which is like Chicago or DC.
Very alien.
Alien land.
Strange
but,
snowscapes.
But at the same time, while I like it, I don't think that what I just described there is enough to actually kind of bolster.
No, not really.
It's not going to compete.
A service that you'd use when you're on a trip is probably not
Yeah, exactly.
what they're after on that one.
I mean, does this have a chance? I mean, the fact is, I like his point. Will anyone even notice? Aha. I think it's out there, right?
But have people really noticed? I don't hear
I
people
don't think
talking
so.
about it.
No.
that often.
No one outside the industry is talking about it.
Right.
And then, you have Microsoft, which is pushing their cloud thing. I mean, it's consistent with the movement that's happening in the larger tech space. But it's like this thing is like they made an announcement 2 GDCs ago.
Yep.
And it's still I've seen more than I ever saw of the Phantom.
Well, part of the problem is they're still aren't they? They're pushing it pretty hard with multiplayer at a lot of the events we've been to, and I just don't see. I mean, you're running into a hard barrier on that, which is the speed of light. Like you're never going to get. You're never going to get. Not just a good idea; it's the law. Like you're never going to be able to give me a multiplayer experience that is lag free enough to compete with what I could get on a normal. So I think they should be pushing for the solo player experience. They should be pushing for the idea that I could go play Stalker in a hotel room in Bangkok and.
Or Civ 5. I could pick up my Civ 5 game anywhere.
Playing
and continue.
Stalker in a hotel room in Bangkok. I believe there's a Carradine that might want to chime in on that one.
That sounds like a thriller right there.
Feedback's a slice of life, folks. I'm just
Nicole.
I don't think it can compete with. I mean, at least not now. I think the best way to describe it is, like he says, a fad that's ahead of its time. I think that this whole cloud mentality is gonna. It works for a lot of media we have now, and again, the multiplayer, the lag. There's lag on my Xbox at home. Like there's going to be lag on this machine.
And the other is, go back to like the era of the Slingbox. It's like those are things that were just with a very, very small early adopter group.
Yep.
And they never, and I think this is true of OnLive as well, it doesn't present itself in a way that I think it's going to generate confidence with the more casual consumer out there. You see Microsoft, you see Sony, you see Nintendo, there's just a sense of, yes, I'm going to get what they're offering. And this, it's like, hold on, this is kind of a weird thing that you're offering. And I think the name OnLive itself sounds like a cable service. It doesn't sound like a game service.
Did Slingbox really catch on?
No.
I never heard of it.
Did it Tech TV? Everyone at Tech TV had a Slingbox.
Yeah, but everyone
It's a
at Tech
great
TV
concept. It's a great concept.
My God, the things that were at Tech TV, like, are you trying this? I'm like, what is that? And it's like, I just would go home and hug a teddy bear.
I
and
remember
play
thinking
PS2.
like exactly like you're saying when OnLive was introduced. I'm like, wow, this is a great idea. I can play my all my PC games. You can play them on a Mac now too because you're streaming from a
It's just a
PC
video.
server. Yeah, you're getting the video over the bandwidth and then sending back your controls on the upstream. But and when I played this at a demo event, which was held at an apartment near E3 2 or 3 E3s ago, it was meant to look like, hey, someone lives here. Check it out. Let's play OnLive. It worked. There was a little bit of lag. We were playing Crysis. Yeah, we were playing Crysis, and there was a little lag. We were playing multiplayer. But I played Burnout, and it was fine. And I'm like, this is cool. And I'm playing this off of nothing. This was on the micro console. But I've heard zip about it since then. I know people are using it. I know people are playing it. They have a blog, and there's a, like, OnLiveFans.com.
There was a
or
Penny
something.
Arcade strip about it last week.
Was it
Positive?
favorable?
No. it was about how when you push up, they send a little elf on a mouse through the forgotten underwater kingdoms of something to deliver the message to the server. It was
Awesome.
not positive.
Oh,
I mean, it's-
hope you
Mice and
didn't
elves
freak out
are.
about it.
It is.
Positive.
Look. The game market is trickier, and just like good idea, good technology is not enough. I mean, there has to be savvy marketing, there has to be good messaging, and I think you need to really speak to that core community. Because without that core community, the more casual community is not going to be confident about it.
Well, how many
And-
people are interested in that kind of thing who don't already have a PC that can run the stuff you'd be interested in? on
Yeah,
that?
'cause I mean, that and like it's only that rare scenario of I want to play Stalker in Bangkok. I mean, that's just not a large market.
And to be honest, if you're in Bangkok, there's probably something better to do than play
Most
soccer.
people, I'll put it this way: most people don't watch this
$1.
show, and I mean most people, like in America, and by meaning that most Americans don't need to play games 24/7. It is a very, very small segment that really wants that, and that's where the OnLive, service is trying to
But
reach.
imagine what if Steam introduced something similar tomorrow, and it's like you can download Lead and Gold right now for $1 and play it.
Steam.
Instantly.
But once again,
Instantly.
Steam is an established brand, and I think that's
I don't
probably-
even know what's on Live as far as game selection goes.
And I think it's been changing. There was a lot of EA games at launch. I don't know if those are still on there. And
Well,
That's
hey,
a
you know
good
what?
question.
If someone's out there and you're using the online service, write us in and let us know because we're speculating here. Let's be honest, And so if you want to get it from a horse's mouth, now if you work for OnLive, identify yourself.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of identification, no, that segue sucks. Anyway, we're done.
All right.
nice work.
Matt, thanks so much for joining us and for Epic Mickey. Nicole, Kevin, this has been feedback for the first week of the last month of 2010. 3 more left.
It's crazy.
Do you play World of Warcraft or one of its 1,000 clones? Do you know what a mob or pug is? Then you'll want to make sure to check out the MMO Report. It gives you all the massively multiplayer online news you could want in a neat little package named Casey Schreiner. Check out all new episodes every Thursday over at g4tv.com/MMO. You're welcome.